Okay, we are also live
We're
now.
live.
Yeah, we
Yes.
live. Yay! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lunar Rhythm with Christine. Once a month, Christine will be here to share her observation of maybe current affairs, political, economic, or even everyday life. And I think today we will kick off from here. So, how are you, Christine?
Well, I'm super excited because if all goes well, and I keep saying this, if all goes well, because I can barely believe this, I'm supposed to be flying to Istanbul at the end of next week for the 11th Turkish conference.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
really, really exciting. However, it's not without difficulties, Rod, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
After the earthquake, which you remember the earthquake that came with that full moon, that naughty full moon back in
Turkey? Yes.
Well, understandably, my colleagues in Turkey are obviously really concerned, right? And their preoccupation, of course, was helping the people who'd been really suffering acutely.
Yeah.
And they didn't know if they should go ahead with the conference. And I think it's very interesting what happened. They wanted a meeting with the speakers, and I wasn't able to attend the first 20 minutes, but I was pretty convinced that they would be saying, look, we can't, it'll have to be just Zoom only.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to this meeting, the Americans and Canadians that are going to this thing were saying, no, we've already booked flights, we're coming, and we want to help with the disaster relief effort.
Wow.
So it was really, really interesting because, of course, between the February event, the full moon, and the conference, you look at what's got to happen. There had to be a full moon on March the 6th, which didn't look very good for Istanbul. Can I tell you that, you know, that the chart for that wasn't very good. We've got to get past this new moon at 0 Aries, and Pluto's going to go into Aquarius. So you can understand their dilemma, because they were saying, if supposing we say we're going ahead with the conference and yet there's another big earthquake, are we going to look like bad astrologers that we couldn't forecast that?
Interesting. Interesting thought.
It's an incredible dilemma, isn't it? You know, but
it is.
It really underlines how little we actually know, right?
Yes.
And it reminded me of a meeting a long time ago, about 30 years ago, where we were talking about the fact that most astrologers have a very strong Jupiter in their chart. And there was a study done on this. It would be lovely to see another one that's just as, you know, a really rich one. And there is, of course, that tendency for astrologers to want to know it all. I forecast this, you know, I was right. I
know everything.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, and it's a real trap, actually, because as soon as you get there, the cosmos is going to send the custard pie your way, because that's the way the system works.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting encounter with really, these were some of the top-notch astrologers. And it was really, this is all going ahead almost as an act of faith, another side of Jupiter, as saying, actually, we want to do this. And I did a little interview for the lady running it this morning, and their numbers are actually really good. But it is going to be hybrid. And I think the good thing is we all know that a proportion of any profits is going to go towards this relief fund. And I think that's
lovely.
That's really, really lovely.
Yeah.
But of course, this will be the first conference with Pluto in Aquarius.
Oh, yes.
You know, because Pluto will have only been in Aquarius by a few hours.
Yes.
So this is one mega event. And I was looking at the chart for when I do the workshop. And during the course of me doing the workshop, Mars nips over the world axis. It goes over 0 degrees.
Oh, 0, yes, Cancer.
So it's quite a heck of a weekend. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all gels, but really exciting.
I agree. Yeah, when I was preparing the kind of writing for the weekly for next week, I was like, wow, look, a whole lot changing.
Yeah, and you know, this morning I was dealing with a client who's got a very complicated financial thing going on, and which I did not know about. I didn't understand the complexity until just yesterday.
Yeah.
And she was telling me that the key meeting is taking place next Thursday. Of course it is. Of course it is. Right. When else could it?
Yeah.
The three people involved, the three key people, will all have Pluto exactly squaring Neptune on that day. Unbelievable, just it's just because they've all got very different birthdays, right? But they've all got square Neptune. So it's really interesting, because I was saying, look, it will be absolutely necessary to take a different path, right?
Yeah.
She was telling me what the headline, what the agenda was for the meeting, what they were proposing, and I was looking at it. None of that's going to work. None of that. There's no element of this that's going to be okay, because Pluto is going to demand that you look at the underbelly of this, and the underbelly is not about the profit and loss sheet. It's going to be about the goodwill, right? The makeup, the energy. I mean, we had a terrific session, really, but it will be interesting to see exactly how that one plays out.
Yeah, talking about this, because I think recently the performance market is very intensive, and the up and down, especially all the news every day. We heard about, okay, this bank closed, that bank just being taken over by government, another bank is in danger, and even like today, Credit Suisse, the share price fallen 20%, and I was like. I say, if I am the financial, what should I say, reporter or something, I don't have time for my lunch. You just keep running.
And I shouldn't be laughing at this. what I'm laughing at is the astrological poetry of it. I'm doing these financial classes. By the way, I'm not playing them now. I'm just making a statement that we're doing these classes each month.
Yep.
And what we do with that is we look to see what the markets have done in the previous 4 to 5 weeks. All right, we've made a forecast for that, and we try and see, what did we get right, what did we get wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I show them different techniques along the way. Well, spectacularly well last week, because we'd already said that full moon was right across the New York Stock Exchange. Mars was the very tender one. So I was saying that week, that's no trader needs to be away from their desk last week. They needed to be there. Bitcoin and the cryptos were also in the eye of the storm, but of course Pluto, the big story, was going to come from the banks, right? Absolutely, it was going to come from the banks, because just as the way as Pluto went into Capricorn, we had the financial crisis. As it leaves, we were also going to get another, because there's always it balances. It's both sides of the cake, as it were. So, and I had lovely messages at the end of last week from fund managers and people saying, you called it. Well, I didn't. I mean, let's be realistic. I didn't single out that Silicon Valley bank and say, oh, it's that one. There are thousands of banks, right? I said, look, it's the banking sector that's going to get this, right? And it's not going to resolve this week. It's not. This is a story that's going to run now, because now we're into this next step, really, of Pluto going into Aquarius, and what that's going to mean, because the next thing is going to be mutual funds. That's where it's going to be, absolutely, literally Aquarius. It's going to be mutual funds. So it's fascinating. We're doing our next meeting on April the 2nd, and some of the because I always say to people, what do you want us to look at? And it's very interesting what they're coming up with, because everybody's got their own favorite bank they want to look at. So it's really good.
So also I want to say that if our audience still want to join you for this monthly financial discussion, financial class, they can email the
if they go, they might enjoy this actually. If you go to the website, that's financialuniverse.co.uk. You can actually, you can buy the recordings of the previous ones as well as
That is
registering for
cool.
the next one. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And
Yeah.
it's just about 60 to 75 minutes, but it's really, those events are requiring a momentum of their own. I never imagined they would be like this, but it's, you know, Uranus is doing its stuff, you know, it's, yeah, it's doing its stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I think if they want to contact you now, because last month I did put the address and the email contact on the last month's podcast. So I will just copy them to put on this month's one. So
That's very kind.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
why you know, it's always enjoy this like a listen to you talking about financial astrology is amazing. Well, the next things I think recently, but more likely is related to I think UK and it's not about a budget. It's just coming out, and you can see the market boom like this. But very interesting because internationally, we just kick off that event between US, UK, and Australia about the the project of a submarine thingy.
Submarine, yeah. I mean, this is a mega story.
Yes.
I mean, it's totally reasonable to have expected a mega story as Saturn went into Pisces. It's easy, isn't it? You know, we're going to have a story about the sea, right? Okay, that bit was the easy bit.
Yeah.
But the harder bit is it's actually looking at the midpoint structure of that, because if we look for the moment when Saturn went in, Saturn was on both the Sun Uranus and Moon Uranus midpoints.
Oh, okay.
So that gave a different color to the thing. That was more about some exciting community development.
Yeah.
But then it got more interesting because Saturn is again on the Mars node midpoint.
Okay.
So I think also there's something a little bit militaristic about, but there's also this union, this coming together. But that full moon, that brought up the Mercury Neptune midpoint, as well as Saturn going into Pisces. So there had to be Saturn being administration story.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got to start thinking about the chart for Taiwan, because the reason for all of this is around Taiwan. So then when you look at the chart for Taiwan, there's poor Taiwan has got his Venus at 29 Capricorn, and along comes Pluto and is threatening its Venus, you know, and it's relentless. As we know, it's a relentless pressure. What's troubling about this is if you take that chart for Taiwan and do the solar arc directions for it, Pluto is at 0 degrees of Scorpio.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we've got Pluto going into Aquarius.
Yeah.
Directed Pluto. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And slightly troubling, because if you're into this dwarf planet stuff, you've got Haumea is at the moment at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So they've got Haumea sitting on this very vulnerable this point. So all the threats are there. The threats are absolutely real. And I do have real concern. I mean, we talked about this when I was doing the thing for Southeast Asia. At the end of last year, I thought this is not looking good for May at all. That lunar eclipse doesn't look nice at all.
Yeah, and it is a huge threat. I think we can also see it from China chart, especially when the Pluto moving into the Aquarius. That's on the moon and the ascendant, and that is just come together. You know, it is.
It's really quite frightening. I'm a little bit suspicious of that chart, Rod. You know, I know where that chart came from. I mean, Nick Campion put it really well in the book. But I'm still, you know, the jury's slightly out on that one. Is that moon exactly there? Is that ascendant exactly there? So I'm still reading it from other factors in that chart. But, you can actually see the power growth of China over the next few years. You can see that anyway, even if you don't moon and ascendant. Yep.
That is true. Yeah, and I think some astrologers they try to find another chart, and I said, oh, that is very interesting, but they demand a lot of work to do the research about it.
well, yes, and And one of the wonderful things that, and one of the thing that I like best about financial astrology is actually not looking at a fixed chart. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not doing that. It's actually you look at ups and downs, and you say, what is the relation between that up and that down? And you might find that actually there's 51 days or something between the two, or a planet has traveled 51 days that you wouldn't have normally thought of, right? So you start to see how something reacts to a degree differential, a harmonic, rather than going for saying, oh, Pluto's going past their sun, so X, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't do it like that. You're actually doing it over the course of time. You're looking at the history of it. But absolutely, if you were to look at the history of the last few years, you would definitely find a pattern. That there's no question that China responds to a Mars-Uranus cycle. Surprise, surprise. But they, yeah.
Wow. So when we're talking about the Pluto, the biggest thing of this month is Pluto moving to Aquarius. So, I mean, what can we expect when the Pluto moving to Aquarius? Just before we finish today's podcast.
Well, we've got to think about what happened last time, right? I mean, the cosmos does not do exact repeats. We know,
of course,
but we can learn. So we had the Industrial Revolution, right? French Revolution. We had the American, right? So we know that it's a time of great scientific breakthrough. We know that, right?
Yes.
And if you check any news bulletin now, there's practically something every day where somebody.
Oh, yeah.
There was the most amazing story the other day. One of my big passions is something called graphene, which is a product that was discovered, created, whatever, at Manchester University, I think, it's some years ago. But now, and it's super, super, super thin, thinner than the hair on your head, but super, super strong, right? And can you imagine this could be used in vehicles and whatever, making it so you wouldn't need the same levels of energy to move the thing around. Well, they've been putting layers of graphene together and creating something else. And this whole thing about us being able to fly, for example, that's become a reality. So somebody was showing me the other day a flying motorcycle. Flying really as though it was built on using drones.
Yes.
But we are sitting on some really exciting stuff, and it won't all just happen with Pluto goes into Aquarius, right? I mean, we're going to say that afterwards, but the research and the development's been going on for the last 10 years. Right? It's just that we and as astrologers, remember, the normal man in the street does not know Pluto's going into Aquarius next Thursday.
True.
Right? But we're on red alert for it. We're in a different position entirely. So I think the scientific and industrial breakthroughs are going to be enormous, right? And yes, it's going to put a lot of people out of work because those jobs will be done by robots and whatever.
Yes.
That also means that the artists and the creatives, right, they're going to go into another fast stream, right? And so, so just in the way that Mozart, for example, came up with all those amazing operas during that Pluto and Aquarius time.
Wow, yeah.
We will have a burgeoning new sounds, new creations. So I don't think it's, yes, of course I get the fact that it could be horrible. Of course I could. But there's always two sides.
Yeah.
How Libran am I, Rod?
Yes. And interesting the way why you're talking about the job thing is because what the recent hot topic is about the AI, and they put into AI to chat, right? Called Chat GPT. And they yesterday they just released the first version 4, the fourth version. And it's like, best version, and these and that, improve this, improve that. And I just look at wow, AI can do so many things. They can summarize your article, they can even write things for you. And I even tried to look one thing, someone demonstrated in Chinese Mandarin, I just read it, I don't know if that's true or not. Someone used it, just like, could you use tarot card technique to predict my next month's working situation, and it does. You got this card, you got that card, I was just like, interesting. So how far they can go, and also for the AI using the graphic things, a lot of artists, a lot of graphic designer saying, well, in one way they take our job off, in another way they take our work to train the AI modes.
Well, this is really my point. Is that absolutely it's going to take jobs away from some people, but the human brain is an interesting thing, and I wonder how that is evolving, right?
Yeah.
Because we are not the same as the humans that were here a couple of thousand years ago. We know this. We're developing, and what are we going to develop, right? You think about your hands, right?
Yeah.
You know that with your thumb and doing all this keyboard stuff, that's going to develop into something else as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I think for next 20 years, while Pluto moving into Aquarius, it is a lot of things related to ourselves, related to human being, related to humanity. We have to think about it.
Yes, and we are really going to have to think about mental health. You know, right? You know, Aquarius is the air sign. You know,
yeah.
And how do we feed? How do we feed our information source? How do you make sure that you get stuff that is healthy and your well-being? I mean, the legacy of Neptune having gone through Pisces, you know, we're going to have to clear that mess up as well, right?
Yeah.
And we're clearing that mess up as Pluto's going into Aquarius. So I think it's a whole. I'm reluctant to use the word industry, but there's got to be a whole new thing about well-being and mental support. You know, and what does mental support mean? That you actually behave well, you know, what is acceptable, what isn't, you know. We have some very big ethical things to think about. And of course, the other day, this thing about they managed to create with male mice, they still manage to create another mouse, you know. So we're absolutely on the edge of a breakthrough, some of which we won't like because distant to, right? But then we have to remember civilizations have been through this before.
Yes.
One of the things I'm going to show in Turkey next Friday, right, is I'm actually going to talk about our ever-changing cosmos and whether or not we are the fifth or sixth civilization or whatever. It's possible that people have been here before us, right? How do we continue? How do we leave a healthy legacy? Maybe that, yes.
Yeah. Well, sounds quite exciting, and we really have a lot of things to looking forward, and also we have to think about ourselves, because I think Pluto ask ourselves to question and dig things out, to do the more research about ourselves, about our society, and that would be
yes, and in the same way that we're, you know, as Pluto went through Capricorn, we were all quizzical about the banks, right?
Yeah.
Now we're going to have to be quizzical about the non-government agencies and what's their political agenda. We're going to be questioning things that we didn't question before.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. That definitely sounds very interesting, because I would never question them before.
No, but because we didn't, because we thought that they're doing good.
Good, yes.
But now we're going to have to think, well, why are they doing good there, right?
Yeah.
What really happened to all the money that we put in, you know?
That is really strong Aquarius theme, yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, and the political edge to this, because you can't say we're only going to feed you if you will promise to vote for X afterwards. You know that?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Christine. I mean, well, this is food of soap, and it's like so rich. I mean, also we also created the full seminar, and soon I will put it on internet, and people, if interesting, they can contact us to get the recording. But also, let me repeat again, because you will be in Turkey over this weekend. There's a big conference in Turkey. So, and also in the 2nd of April, you have the financial astrology class discussion group
on the 14th, right?
14th. Oh, yes.
we've got our currency event.
Yeah.
It's all rocking and rolling, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
But Rod, the next time we meet, Pluto is in Aquarius.
Yes.
Yes. So
it will be slightly different, I think.
well, it'll be interesting to see what's happened globally, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because we will be acknowledging new threats. But
Yeah.
I'll be able to tell you about this conference as well, which is,
That will be.
it will be quite amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Christine, and thanks everyone for watching the Lunar Reason. And next month we'll bring you something different because, like Christine said, next time we meet each other, Pluto will be in Aquarius, and hope we will some more interesting things to discuss. Okay. See you next month.
Rod.
Bye.